Hello, internet, live journal, blog, YouTube, Google Video. I think it's now going to be an amalgamated thing. I'm doing an essay, of course, so I'm distracting myself, and I was wondering if you wanted to be a part of it, and that would be great. So thank you. I can read you a little bit of my essay. I've actually got 3 essays I'm working on right now, which is kind of shitty, but I procrastinate, you know? Like, that's why I'm on LiveJournal, that's why I'm making a video blog instead of that. Oh, I also have a pear. I'm in my kitchen. My kitchen's black and red. And there's a pear. Pears are great. So, I read this bit on Jean-Luc Nancy, and it was called Painting in the Grotto, and it was talking about the origin of man as something that came about as a kind of reflexivity, a kind of ability to look at oneself and to see the imprint, the kind of image of an imprint of a hand on the cave wall, a kind of ancient, prehistoric, archaic cave wall. And that showing itself, that imprint, is basically the transformative event. So I can read you a bit from my essay. It talks about that. It talks about that it's important to remember that the event of finding the caves was a recent and a chance discovery. It was chanced upon. There was no planning, no secret messaging. The presence was obliterated, and all that is left is these incredible images, these imprints. Bataille turned to these images and asked what sort of being did they give witness to? What was the knowledge that characterized these people? What particular understanding of the birdman with the erect phallus, whose moment of death coincides with the death of the bison, whose entrails are bursting out from his body? We're interested only marginally to the representations, the outlines of the other human beings. We are fascinated by the extraordinary, never-seen-before appearance of the imprint of the hand. It is a stenciling. It is not even a drawing of an outline, but the allowing of the presence of a hand to make an appearance, an outline itself. So, it kind of touches through the essay, touches into the kind of ancient story, ancient legend, I guess, of, Zeuxis and Parrhaisos, who had a painting competition. It was kind of cool to see who was the best painter, and Zeuxis painted images of grapes. He painted grapes that were so real that birds came down and ate the grapes, but he didn't win. Parrhaisos, the other Greek guy, he actually painted a veil, painted like a curtain, and so the time came and said, okay, unveil your painting, but it was, the painting itself. So it's kind of analogous to the situation of Narcissus. Before Narcissus recognizes his own image, the eyes of the birds are fooled by the painting, the image. There's a lure there. The birds will never see through the lure. The bird's eyes will only ever be lured. So now imagine a man instead of a bird. The painting was intended for the eyes of a man, saying, look how beautiful my painting is. You don't see the grapes, you see the image that is so semblant. The birds are captive of their error, which they have no way of exiting. Man's eyes take pleasure in their error when they find themselves. And through this the subject learns that there is pleasure in error. Since philosophy is combating error, what the image in its perfect representation teaches is the pleasure of the fooling, of the getting fooled. So, I think that's kind of interesting. But it's kind of this tradition that lends itself, this kind of metaphysical Greek tradition that lends itself as a kind of impulse to see what is behind, the veil, what is behind the underneath, you know what I mean? Like the kind of, or behind the underneath. What is under the underneath? And it's kind of interesting when you think of same situation, Plato's allegory of the cave, or Plato's idea of forms and ideas, kind of absolutes in general, as, only appearances of the absolute, of things in the world are only appearances. The idea of a chair, is separate and is never visible, but there are kind of things like chairs. These are all chairs that kind of partake in the idea of chair, and that's kind of cool. Anyway, it's kind of boring, but I just wanted to make a note and share with you this essay that I'm working on, and this kind of fractal imagery, but this is my essay. You probably can't read. And here's an image of you. That's a fractal. You can Wikipedia fractals. Alright, it's 9:22. You can't tell, but it is. It's time for me to keep going, so thank you for your patience.